Hey, IACA members, did you know that you can make a motion to change the IACA? Do you have an idea to enhance the association or fix an issue? Now until May 14th, Innovative Ideas Forum is open to all members to submit and discuss ideas. Starting on Monday, May 19th, there will be a 7-day voting period on each motion. For the motion to pass, 10% of the membership, or 735 members, needs to be in favor. So if you're looking to submit an idea or be part of the discussion, please see the link to the Innovative Ideas Forum in this episode. LEA Podcast will be publishing a special episode discussing all the motions on Monday, May 19th, the start of the voting period. So if you want to be a part of that episode or you have any questions or concerns, please email us at leapodcasts@gmail.com. Now, back to the show.
Welcome to Analyst Talk with Jason Elder. It's like coffee with an analyst, or it could be whiskey with an analyst reading a spreadsheet, linking crime events, identifying a series, and getting the latest scoop on association news and training. So please don't be that analyst and join us as we define the law enforcement analysis profession one episode at a time.
Thank you for joining me. I hope many aspects of your life are progressing. My name is Jason Elder, and today our guest has 11 years of law enforcement analysis experience, all with the Manatee County Sheriff's Office in Florida. She holds a master's in criminal justice from the University of South Florida, and she is a certified analyst with both the Florida Department of Law Enforcement and the California Department of Justice. She's here to talk about, among other things, getting involved and certifications. Please welcome Ashley Wells. Ashley, how are we doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I am doing well. So we are dealing with Florida winter, spring, fall. I don't know what it is.
It's like winter in the morning and then summer in the afternoon. So you never know what to wear. And
Yeah. And it is Florida cold, right? I always make
yeah,
sure I make that distinction because being originally from Pennsylvania, to call this weather cold is a little bit of an insult.
I'm a born and raised Floridian, so it gets real cold for me. But I have experienced other colds, and I definitely know know the difference. I feel lucky that I can throw a light sweater on when I think it's winter. So
Oh man. All right. So just some housekeeping for the listeners. We will be doing a call-in segment later, favorite first job. So if you have a favorite first job, get your call in now. All right, Ashley, how did you discover the law enforcement analysis profession?
So when I was in college, I went to college for criminal justice and didn't really know what I wanted to do with it. I thought maybe law school. I had it very broad. And I got a job at the Manatee County Sheriff's Office doing child protection right after I graduated with my bachelor's. And that job it's very stressful. And after about 4 years of it, I didn't want to do it anymore. So I went to go get my master's. And while I was in progress of doing that, I saw a job opening and it just said crime analysis. And I had no idea what it was, but I so badly didn't want to be in child protection anymore. I applied for it and I ended up getting it and coming over into the unit, which consisted of me. At the time, there was there was a mass exodus. There were two analysts and a supervisor, and everybody had left right at the same time. Got other jobs, retired, moved out of state. I think one of them. So it was very interesting because I had no idea what I was doing, and I was the only one there for about 2 weeks until we got a
Mhm.
supervisor. So we really kind of built this unit from the ground up. Me, another analyst who is now my supervisor, and my former supervisor. We started just the three of us and had to get the trust of the agency, show them what we were doing. Nobody knew what we did. They would just come to us for crime stats. I think back then it was a lot of give us crime stats and kind of like a glorified secretary thing until they realized that hey, they can actually help us. So that's kind of how we got into that.
Hmm. And what are the names of
Yeah.
your supervisor and former supervisor?
My former supervisor is Amber Hoffman. It was formerly Warnock. She's part of FCIAA still. She left to take a teaching job, and I believe she's starting to be teaching a criminal justice block, but she left to take a teaching job with a school up in Lakeland, and the
Hmm.
name escapes me right now. And Alicia Main is my coworker and now my current supervisor that took Amber's place.
All right. For those that aren't familiar with Florida geography, Manatee County is located where? How would you describe it?
We're about an hour south of Tampa, maybe about 45 minutes north of Sarasota. So kind of
Okay.
right in between there.
All right. So Gulf side.
Yes, Gulf side.
All right. And because go back to the child protection, is that position more of a like a social work role? Is it because you're coming in as a civilian, right? That's not a sworn position that you had there in the beginning.
No, it was a civilian position and it was more of an investigative role.
Mhm.
You went out and you had 30 days to handle it and then you pass it on to social workers. So we had to go out, investigate the abuse. We had law enforcement with us. It would depend on what the allegations were, maybe 80% of the time.
Mhm.
You go out, but you do a whole investigation. You had to interview everybody, go inside, you had to see the house, make sure the kids were safe. If they weren't safe, you were the actual person that went in there and took the kids out of the house, went to court the next day and testified why you took them out of the house. So it was a pretty
Uh,
intense job. Yeah.
Yeah, I did. I mean, what training did you go through?
You had to go through, I believe it was a 4-week training, and then you had to take a test. And you had to
Mhm.
have at that time, I believe it's changed now, but at that time, you had to have a degree. You had to have at least have a bachelor's. And it was all ran through the sheriff's office. And just within the past 2 years, they've passed it over to DCF. So now DCF runs all of the investigations throughout the state.
Mm.
So it's a little different now.
What would you say you learned doing that job that helped you become an analyst that you use now as in your analyst task?
Well, I definitely think that it's good to have is it investigative skills. You learn how to tracking people down.
Hmm.
Where I had to track people down all the time and figure out where they lived and how to get a hold of them. And I didn't have all the tools I have now.
Hmm.
So I had to kind of do the best I could with it. But I definitely think that that mindset of putting a case together, presenting it to people, it really did help being an analyst because you still have to do that now is
Hmm.
present your cases to people. So that definitely helped prepare me for this.
Yeah. And as you said, it helps with your soft skills, communication, getting to know officers that you're working with, getting your foot in the door in terms of getting to know the sheriff's office a little bit.
Oh yeah, it was great because I worked with the deputies all the time. And
Hmm.
then so when I came over into crime analysis, I already had a relationship with the deputies that were out there in the field. Now that I've been here so long, they're all lieutenants and captains. Everybody's moved up in the
Hmm.
ranks. But at the time I knew all the people that I was working with.
Yeah. I also just as you mentioned, you just starting as an analyst, that situation is unique. And I was thinking about it. I don't think I've had somebody on the show in which they weren't the first analyst hired at the department, but at the same time they were also building from scratch because nobody was there when they got here. So
Yeah.
I would imagine that has its own set of challenges because for those that were using the services of the analyst before would have a little bit of expectation on what they wanted to see, but at the same time, there was really nobody there to show you how to complete those tasks, and you were also trying to create from scratch as well. So it's creating from scratch, but not really scratch.
Yeah, creating something you had no idea what you were even creating at that point. We got really, really lucky when we got Amber to come in because she was already an analyst. She had been one in Virginia and then came down and worked for Hillsborough County for several years. So when she came, she's an amazing teacher, which is why she went on to teach. But she would just put on, nobody used us, so we had all this time in the world. She would put on classes for us. And actually it's a couple analysts that work for Sarasota County, and they're still there now, but they were all new at the same time as us, would come and they would come learn the classes with us. And she would teach us RGIS, she would teach us criminal basics, every basic thing you need to know as an analyst. We kind of just started learning from her and she helped us build up to who we are now. So I give her a ton of credit for that.
All right. So then, as you're establishing the position in the unit, what type of tasks are you getting into?
Well, we're starting really just reading what a typical analyst does, reading the day-to-day occurrences, looking at out of county bulletins, trying to establish some trends, and we're starting to put things together as to what's going on. And it was really cool. It's really cool as an analyst to get your success when you start to see, oh my gosh, there's been 10 vehicle burglaries here and they all have the same MO and they all happen at the same time. And so that was sort of what we were starting with.
Are you only focusing on certain crimes?
At the time, well, no, we would take anything.
Mhm.
But at the time, we were really looking at anything that was more trend related because that's, as an analyst, that's the best thing you can work on. Obviously, homicides are unpredictable, sex crimes, that kind of stuff. But we would look at robberies, we would look at burglaries, yeah, property crimes, those types of things that you could actually analyze.
Okay. All right. Well, let's get into a situation. Give us a better idea of what you got into. This brings us to your analyst badge story. And for those that may be new to the show, the analyst badge story is a career-defining case or project that an analyst works. So we're here in 2014, and there's a vehicle burglary series. And I guess for those, vehicle burglaries are also theft from autos. For some people, I don't know how we as as a
I
police,
know it's
I don't know how in law enforcement we decided to have the same thing, have two different terms, but for those
yeah.
that know it as theft from autos, it's vehicle burglaries in this case.
Yeah, so this was our first big thing. We were brand new, me and my coworker, and we were doing this together and on an analysis that would probably take me an hour now. We were sitting there for days just gathering all the information and making a matrix and making a map and really kind of pinpointing stuff. But well, basically, we were having a series of vehicle burglaries where, let's just say, every Monday and Wednesday between the hours of 3 and 5, they were coming to a specific parking lot, smashing in the windows, grabbing the purses, and leaving. And it happened to be an employee parking lot. So they
Mm.
knew that's where all the employees were parking. They were leaving their purses and stuff in there so they could go into work. And we did a whole analysis on it. We mapped it out. We said, this is the next time they're going to hit. This is the exact parking lot they're going to hit in. They went out, they monitor and caught them doing it. So that was a really cool success in trying to show, hey, we can help you.
Yeah. It still amazes me that people leave purses in their car,
And
especially
don't
in
lock their car.
and well, either don't lock it or just leave
Yeah.
it in plain sight. Like I mean, I
Yeah.
don't carry around a purse, so but I would think if I left something a bag that had my identification in it and a bunch of money and credit cards, I definitely would secure it and hide it in the car if I had to keep it into the car.
You would think if you think, sometimes I think people think they're just running in for a few minutes when they just leave it there and nobody's going to do anything. But
You
a
know.
lot of people have watched and they wait for that.
You know, and it has also amazes me that sometimes criminals will just keep at it until they get caught or until they find another hunting area. And in this case, it seemed pretty consistent in terms of the time that they were doing these and the location.
Oh yeah, they were having success, so they just
Yeah.
kept going. Maybe got a little too greedy, I guess.
Yeah, and didn't think anybody was going to do anything different.
Mm.
Like,
Right? Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Didn't think anybody was paying attention to it, and nobody
yeah.
was prior.
Was there any connection with the employee aspect of this? Because I'm curious to know how this got on their radar. Were they a former employee themselves, and
I
that's how
believe
they
one of
knew?
them, yeah, I believe one of them was a former employee, if I'm remembering correctly. This was 10 years ago, but if I
Sure.
remember this, I believe somebody did used to work at the mall and knew that's where all the employees parked.
Yeah, it's interesting how that happens in the inside information, right? And
Hmm.
it's
Yeah.
especially, well, I think it goes along the lines of the more unique a scenario is, the more important it is, because like who would know that, or who would also know that maybe as employees you don't have lockers and you can't bring in a purse,
Yeah, exactly.
right?
Exactly. I
So
would have
they
never thought of that. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, and it's just like there was a Chick-fil-A robbery and it was just very unique where the money was kept, and it was like, oh well, it had to be an employee because that
Yeah.
they knew exactly where it was, type of thing. They had some kind of inside information from an employee. So, but
Well,
you know,
we had one. We had a really interesting one. It was a one of those armed vehicles that are filled with cash, and
hmm
we had a robbery where they were coming out of the store, and that they knew how to get in the vehicle. They knew that person's route. They knew exactly when it was happening.
yeah,
So much so we thought it was the driver that, but it happened to be a former employee that knew everything. But
yeah,
yeah, the inside information.
yeah. No, and obviously they've been following that person and studying the path and everything else. So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
yeah. Hmm. Yeah, that is interesting. It also makes me think of like too if this got resolved, but it would be nice for the employer of these workers to give them lockers that they can put their stuff into, so they don't have to keep it in their car.
Right.
That seems like a problem-solving project there, a pop project.
You would think so. Maybe they have them now. I don't know. But that would have been helpful for them.
And then let's get into another one because you have another bad story that happens in 2015 that this gets into expanding outside of your jurisdiction.
Yeah, we most of my batch stories are from crime analysis. Like I said, I now have realmed in going in the intelligence realm, which aren't as glorious. But this one was a another vehicle burglary series, but it was at parks. So a lot of people parks and daycares, that kind of stuff. So a lot of people leave their purse in the car when they're going for a run or just running their kid in daycare. And we had a group that was coming and smashing the windows, taking the purses, and then it's called Felony Lane. I'm sure a lot of analysts are familiar with that term, but they would take their checkbooks and their IDs and get wigs and put them on and make themselves look like the individual whose purse they stole. And then they would go through got the term Felony Lane, they'd go through the furthest lane in the bank. So they couldn't really
hmm
see them. So they kind of looked like the person in the ID, and they'd cash the
Right.
checks and get the money. Probably not as prevalent these days because of people not using as many checks, but back then it was very, very big. And I was reading a bulletin one day about a stop that was in a county south of us, Lee County. And the people I just was bored. This was when our unit was brand new, and I started running their names through our system. And come to find out, a couple of them were local. And in this vehicle stop, they had found hundreds of credit cards and driver's license and purses and just tons of property.
hmm
And we ended up, me and my coworker, running all these names. This is when links first came out, running all these names through links and connecting them to vehicle burglaries up through New York, I believe. It went
hmm
all the way up the East Coast. And he got I think he's actually still in prison for it, the main ringleader. But
Yeah.
it was a group that kind of was from here and a little bit of Miami, but it went all statewide, nation, or it went all the way up the East Coast. So it was a very big get for us.
Yeah. And again, it is funny how times have changed a little bit because I get nervous if I'm carrying my checkbook around with me. Right.
Yeah.
I just don't
Yeah.
normally
Yeah.
do it, and I know it can do. If I lose it, oh Jesus, that a pain in the butt. So if I have to leave the house with a checkbook, I am nervous Nelly.
I can't even remember the last time I wrote a check, honestly. It's
Oh, okay. Well,
I don't even know where my checkbook is. I have one somewhere. So I don't yeah, it was but back you had to write checks for rent checks and for all your
yeah,
bills and stuff. So people had a ton of them. And
yeah,
even now with businesses and stuff, people carry them. But it was a really big deal several years back. They still
yeah,
do it, but I think they do it more with credit cards now. They go buy the gift cards and stuff.
yeah. I like the attention to detail with buying the wigs.
Oh yeah.
That's a nice layer to that story. Is
They
I could just
they
imagine.
yeah, they usually I mean they had pictures of it, just 25 different wigs, sunglasses,
Uh,
everything to really try to look like that person. And they would hire women, drug addicts that
hmm
and give them drugs and say, "Hey, go cash this check for me. We'll give you some drugs." And that's how they would do
Okay.
it.
Yeah. So I mean, man, and they obviously knew that that's how it had to be done. And it is fun. It is funny. I just see just these middle-aged, heavier set guys going into a wig shop to buy a wig,
Yeah.
or
Yeah, I
trying
don't know
to
how.
or trying to compare the wig to a driver's license photo,
Oh
right?
yeah. Oh yeah.
Which would be
Maybe
a little
I'm
bit
gonna
odd.
get it. No, what's that guy buying 20 wigs for? That might give you a clue there.
Yeah. So wigs and debit cards and checks. So man,
Yeah.
but no, that was it is fascinating when something like that happens and these groups are like a traveling roadshow, right? And they'll just
Hmm.
go from town to town hitting folks. And again, knowing a little bit about the bank business to know what works and what doesn't work.
Right. And before links, I don't know if we would have found that they've gone all the way up there because we wouldn't have known that all these people are victims, you know. I mean,
Hmm.
we started to get the names and everything, but then you're looking and you're really, really connecting and finding the actual reports and so having that little piece there where we can talk to other agencies was super helpful.
Yeah, I don't know. It's that's a fascinating story. It reminds me that and I don't know if this happened in this particular case, but I know a lot of times the the bank will reimburse the victim. So then it's the bank that is technically the victim of the crime. That happened with me when I had my debit card cloned and they took all my money out of my bank account and then the bank reimbursed me the next day, but then the bank was the one that called the police and did all that. I wasn't even involved.
Yeah, I don't know how there were so many victims. I don't know. I hope so.
Yeah,
I hope they got reimbursed.
yeah, yeah. I think that's usually how it works. But
Yeah.
all right. Anyway,
Mm.
okay. Well, hey, and then you mentioned you switched over to the Intel side.
Mhm.
So was that something that they just managed to transferred you over there, or was that something you put in for?
No, we had, so at the time, so there was just us, and then there were two other analysts. It's weird, they had us separated. So there were two intelligence analysts that worked under
Mhm.
narcotics specifically, but they didn't do anything for anybody else. It was just narcotics.
Yeah.
And then they combined us. This is a couple years in now. We got combined. So this is probably around 2016. And one of the analysts retired. So I was the only one that was really interested. There was only two of us. So I moved over to that unit and then we got another crime analyst. So now we're a four-person unit when I moved over to Intel. It seemed interesting to me. I'm a more strategic worker. I like a little more long-term things. Where crime analysis is great, but it's quick turnaround. When then you're done, you're on to the next thing.
Hmm.
So moving over to Intel was something that just interested me. I wanted to see what it was like. So
All right. So then what kind of cases are you getting into on the Intel side?
now I'm doing anything that's a little more long term. So I work a lot of narcotics cases, a lot of long term narcotics deals. We'll do homicides, cold cases, any type of threat, any protest that's happening, anything that's kind of happening, even with like the political climate. And
Mm.
I like to keep an eye on everything that's sort of happening that could present an issue around here because back, I think it was 2020 when we had all the riots and all
Mhm.
that stuff going on. We kept track of every single one that was happening. We let patrol know about those.
Mhm.
So also
Mm.
do, I'm trying to think, we do so many things over here. We
Yeah.
work all the threat. So yeah, we anything long term, we're here for it.
Okay. And is this something where because I guess what in terms of threats or monitoring potential threats, that's one level of how you would be fed cases. But then when it comes to maybe narcotics, gangs, homicide, that's usually something that where the case would be assigned to you.
We don't really have any assignments other
Hmm.
than we do cell phone analysis too. So there's only three of us that do the cell phone analysis. So we do get those assigned to us just to keep it fair because it's daunting doing a cell phone analysis, very time consuming.
Hmm.
But other than that, when they kind of come out, one of us will just grab it, or if we're not busy, or even if we are, but hey, I know you're busy, I'll take this and start working on it. So we have a really great group and
Hmm.
so we have a good workflow with it. We also have kind of if it's a shooting, we have an analyst that works all the shootings. So that's kind of his thing. So we sort of have it grouped out
Hmm.
well. So it works out.
All right, all right. So let's talk about cold cases a little bit then, because I think
Yeah.
we from time to time we talk
Yeah.
about from analysts to doing narcotics investigations or doing
Mhm.
homicides, but we haven't talked too much about cold case analysis. So I'd like to get your perspective on that.
Cold case is something that really, really interests me. It's something it's so hard too. It's very, very difficult to do because you have to go back, and some of these files are so old.
Hmm.
You're going back and you're reading things that are handwritten. But I find it really important, especially with missing persons. That's the one thing I'm actually trying to start kind of my own, not unit, but my own sort of thing on the cold case missing persons, where I can go back and start really digging into them and seeing what we can do. And I have dug through quite a few. We've had a little luck here and there. Unfortunately, with some of the older cases, a lot of the witnesses have died. A lot. I mean,
Hmm.
it's you're trying to find somebody who's still alive. But I feel like there's just so many missing people. It's really wild to see. And I really want to start kind of getting into those. So that's something I've been passionate about and started kind of working on recently.
Yeah,
They're they're so difficult to really gauge because you have to see who's still around, and then you got to really dig on them and see if you can find them. So it's very intriguing though.
yeah. I mean, it's tough enough when you're trying to put a puzzle together and you don't have enough, you don't have all the pieces, but then the talking, maybe you lose some of the pieces in the process of the whole thing. So I can imagine where it would be difficult to go back through that. And I mean, sometimes I mean, are you using those where you get new information on maybe an old case that someone either came forward or DNA or something like that that brings new information to the cold case?
Some of them we are. We had one recently. We had just gotten some information that it might have been linked to another cold case that had just been solved down in Charlotte County. He was a serial killer. But he had worked in law enforcement at the time, and I guess on his deathbed admitted to a cold case down in Charlotte County. So of course that gets in the limelight, and we're getting all this information. It might be linked to some of ours. So that was one that I had started working on, trying to see if it was possibly linked to this individual who had killed probably three women.
Hmm.
So, but we ran into so many roadblocks with it too, because he's dead.
Hmm.
So he's not talking anymore. There's no DNA at all.
Hmm.
And if there was, it's gone. The case, I want to say it was from like 1973.
Hmm.
A lot of the witnesses are not alive anymore. A lot of the family members are not alive anymore. So it's near impossible sometimes to even get anything you can. But we're
Yeah.
starting with some of those. Some of them I'm just kind of going back to see this person's been missing for a year. Let's
Hmm.
do a little more research, and then I'll kind of start digging from there.
Yeah, man, I can, it's, it is interesting that all the various ways that can happen what can happen to people, right? I mean, some people might just have left. They wanted to be, they just wanted to
Yeah.
go and whatnot. Some people are obviously kidnapped. You have the whole aspect of human trafficking. You have you just have something where it's just an accident and they fell
It,
down a well or something like
yeah.
that. You can sit here and rattle off a ton of different
Hmm.
things in various ways that and you just never, people kill people and don't leave any kind of trace whatsoever. Is there's just a lot to that, and as you said, that the longer it goes, the more evidence it seems to lose.
We're lucky now. We've got progressions in DNA where we now I think we can go back, and it's just a matter of going back and getting some things and retesting the DNA. And we had a really cool case come around. It's not completely solved yet, but
Mhm.
we're still working it. But we got a familial DNA. We
Yeah.
had a body part found in the water and had no idea at all who it was. We were going through missing people, and it was sent to like one of those ancestries, the DNA, because he wasn't in our system, and
Hmm.
we got a hit, and it was possibly a family member of this person, I believe is how it happened.
Hmm.
And that's how we figured out who it was. So it's wild because 30 years ago we wouldn't have known.
Yeah, yeah. I thought
I
about
know.
doing that. I thought
Yeah.
about doing that, but then I was like, man, what happens if it's like one of my cousins? Like,
Oh yeah.
right? I was like, oh yeah, I'll donate my DNA, and then it turns out my cousin is in trouble. So, right, you
Oh,
know.
yeah, I got a new sister from a DNA, so we those things will get you.
Yeah, oh man. So, geez, yeah, there's some friends of mine.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I think it was her brother. Her brother got the whole family 23 and Me
Mhm.
for Christmas, and he has three daughters. And for some reason, the youngest daughter didn't get linked to anybody.
Oh, geez.
and, and
Oh,
that
God.
was the way that they found out that mom had an affair.
Yeah.
So it's like, wow.
I know you got to be careful. If we found out, my dad had no idea. He fathered a child. She's 25 now and had no
Yeah.
idea. And she found him, did her DNA, boom, boom, got to him. And it's crazy.
Yeah, 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 yeah. But that familiar DNA stuff for in law enforcement is fascinating because
It
it's
is.
it's it's a little bit like
Yeah.
crowdsourcing in a way. Like if
Mhm.
everybody if
Yeah.
everybody did it, we probably would solve a lot of cold cases.
Yeah, because I mean, you got to think if this person's just going through under the radar, never been arrested. We don't have any knowledge of them. We don't have their
Hmm.
DNA, so they're never going to pop up.
Obviously, if you can find relatives, match the DNA of relatives, then it becomes new information. Just as we said, new information on an old case can
Hmm.
can do a lot. So, all right. Well, no, I think that's interesting, and that's certainly seems like you get into a lot, right?
Yeah,
As I mean,
yeah.
that's just doing cold case analysis. I could see being a full-time job, let alone dealing with threats and homicide, narcotics, and it just seems like that's you kind of the jack of all trades in a little in a way.
Yeah, we don't get time to really focus on one thing, which is good and bad, I guess, you know.
Hmm.
Sometimes I wish I could sit and just do one thing I'm working on all day, but it is kind of fun because I get that different all days that something new comes at me all the
Hmm.
time. So it's pretty fun. Yeah, but we do get to do a lot of different things. So
Good.
it's interesting every day.
Yeah.
Something new.
This is Amanda Wiggins, and my public service announcement for you, specifically analysts, is your decisions, your actions, your work provide good to this world. Know the importance of these things and take pride in doing your best, because it's your best that truly makes a difference.
I'm Mandy Krueger, and this public service announcement is for you. Are you tired? Don't feel like doing that response times analysis? Newsflash, neither do I. Go drink a cup of coffee, grab yourself a dirty soda if you're in Utah, pull your weight, don't be a slacker.
All right. Well, let's move on to talk about some associations because
Okay.
your name came on my radar a couple years back. I guess what is this, 2025? That would have been 2023. You threw your name in the hat for IACA's VP of Admin,
I
and
did.
you ran against Jonathan Softly and Annie Mitchell. I remember thinking, I was like, who is this Ashley Wells? I had never heard of Ashley Wells before.
No?
And
Yeah.
we had an opportunity to have a chat when I did the candidate interviews. So from that point, I wanted to have you on the show
Mhm.
to talk about your perspective of the whole process from the beginning, the decision to throw your name in the hat, just your perspective of the whole process.
Had been a part of IACA for a while, and I had been doing this job for a while. And I saw it pop up one day, and it said, "Put in your name for VP." And I said, "That sounds fun. I could get involved." Now, I didn't know what I was getting myself into. I just signed up. I filled out all the paperwork and put in, and I told everyone at work, "Vote for me. We're going to do this." And then it was a lot bigger than I knew.
Hmm.
I didn't realize a lot of it too was going to happen at the conference, which unfortunately we weren't able to go to. So
Hmm.
I kind of missed out a lot on promoting, meeting people, kind of putting a face to the name.
Hmm.
So I was kind of I don't know. I had got a little short end of the stick on that one, but that's okay.
Mhm.
But yeah, I didn't realize how big of a thing it was. And then when it was coming out, I was like, oh man, I don't know what I just got myself into. But I'm going in, I guess. Why not? And it was kind of cool, and I'm glad I did it. Got my name out there, and I got to meet people. I got to talk to you. I got to meet a bunch of people. So it worked out.
Yeah. Yeah, and we'll get to how it worked out here in a second. It is interesting because I think we just went through IACA, we just went through a whole series of a couple of elections here in the last 6 months and dealing with some of the controversies that have come out the last 6 months. People have thrown their name in the hat, and it does seem like those that are either part of committees already with the IACA or are part of chapters, or their own association, I should say. Chapters are IALEIA side of things, but those that have the regional associations with IACA have really gotten a lot of traction. So there is a little bit of this informal way to work yourself up the ladder,
Yeah.
so to speak. Because I mean, that was one of the things too that someone said that with the Florida Crime and Intelligence Analysis Association, they had never heard of you either. So
Yeah.
it was a
Yeah.
little bit of like that was anticipated that you would be active locally
Right.
in seeking the position. But it doesn't have to be
Yeah.
that way. But I know people were looking for that.
Yeah, having some type of experience, which I totally understood. I just thought, well, I love new challenges, and I'm always trying to go for something different. So I just said, you know what, I'm going to go for it, and we'll see what happens. If not, I got my name out there.
It is interesting to look at the election process and then just how everything is run because the association has really gotten large. I mean, the association's 7,000 members
Mhm.
and still has only 5 board positions. So that's a really small amount of board positions considering the number of members that the association has. And I know that's being worked on. I know they're talking about redoing the bylaws and maybe getting additional board members. So that's something I know there's a lot of things in the works of trying to change and update the stuff. But it's still your reputation, how well you're known. It is still is
Yeah.
and at the end of the day, it's still a little bit of a popularity contest, right?
Oh, yeah, 100%. Yes. That's all of life, I believe. But,
Hmm.
yeah, how many people do everybody put their picture out there? And I
Hmm.
know at one point they had said we could have some type of stickers and stuff, but then they took it back because I wasn't going to be able to go. So I couldn't really put any of that out there. But and
Hmm.
I know there was a snafu with the voting. There wasn't a majority, and then they had to have a revote, and
Hmm.
there was all kinds of stuff going on with it. And I was just like, oh,
Yeah, well,
it's a lot, right?
the IACA has the ranked voting
Yeah.
aspect to it. So when there's two people running for a position, you don't need to worry about
Mhm.
ranked voting. But when you have three or more, you need to have ranked voting because you need to establish somebody to have 50% majority. And
Yeah.
so if you don't get that 50% majority with just of those that have a number of first place votes, you then have to look at second place votes and third tier or whatever, so on and
Yeah.
so forth, until you get somebody established as gets that 50. I guess it's just slightly more than 50%, so it's not exactly
Yeah.
50%. But yeah, that didn't happen the first go around in that election, so they had to have a second special election to resolve that. But anyway, I'm glad in catching you up with you since then, and in the prep call, I was glad to hear that you, as you said, it kind of worked out for you because you found another way to get involved with an association.
Yeah, I actually started working with IALEIA a little bit more. I became a chapter member with the South Florida chapter, so I've been getting slowly involved with that. I've only been to about 2 meetings now, so I've been working with that. I'm going to be going over to the conference in April.
Hmm.
Going to be working to get certified when I go to the conference. I actually just this morning, I went through 4 essays for the scholarship committee to read those and send those back over. So I've just kind of been doing little things here and there to work up. And then the goal is to definitely put myself in a hat for an election with them at some point. So
Yeah.
just meeting people and doing maybe doing this one the right way, working starting to meet everybody involved and not just throw my name out there. So
Yeah. So will this be your first IALEIA conference?
yes, it will be.
Okay.
Yes, I have not been to one before. So I've done the IACA ones. I did one in California. That was the last one I did at
Okay.
IACA.
All right.
So this is my first IALEIA. I'm pretty excited about it.
It should be exciting, given it's in Vancouver, so it's
Yes.
outside of the U.S.
Hmm.
And I'm definitely interested to see what the turnout's going to be like and just what the vibe is and whatnot. And you should seek out Alexander Goulday, who gives me the IALEIA updates when you're there, and give him your perspective so he can report back to me, because he's going to be trying to capture a bunch of different perspectives on the
Oh yeah,
conference.
definitely.
Now, all these conferences, it's a great week. It's great to see people in the profession, to see old faces, to meet new people, to talk shop, to see what people are getting into. And so yeah,
Yeah.
you're gonna get a lot out of that week in Vancouver.
Oh yeah, it's going to be cool. They have some really cool classes too that are really interesting, and I think it's going to be. I'm a little stressed about the first day for the test, but what after that will be smooth sailing. But yeah, it looks like it's going to be a really great event. So
Yeah, well, let's get into the test
yeah.
a little bit, because that I was thinking too. I don't know if probably have. See, my memory is getting worse and worse as I go, old man, elder.
I get
But
that.
I haven't talked to a lot of people that have actually prepping for the certification exam. So I'm interested to get your perspective going into the test, because IALEIA's test is one where it's multiple choice, but there's also a written portion as well, correct?
Yes, and there's not a ton of information about it. It's just here's some stuff it's going to cover, and then there's probably 6 or 7 books and articles to read.
Hmm.
So I just kind of started breezing through the articles, reading them, and trying to see what they're looking for. So I mean, so far so good. So
Yeah.
far it's a lot of stuff I've already done, having done this for 11 years. So, but I'm sure that there's some things that I need to brush up on, and so I've been reading the article. Probably should have started a little longer ago, but it's okay. I like to wait the last minute to do all the things.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Well, just
I'm a procrastinator.
yeah, chip away at it, and I'm sure there are folks out there. Maybe put something, if you're looking for advice or any kind of information, put a message out on the forums.
Oh yeah, that's a good
And
idea. I should do
and
that. Yeah.
or yeah, or LinkedIn or wherever it is, and just to try to get different perspectives on those that have already taken it, to see, maybe get some
Yeah.
advice there. So
Yeah, definitely.
that's exciting, and it's Monday. I wonder if you'll know right away. I don't
I hope
know.
so.
Yeah, because it was one of those things that I got certified with IACA. Ooh, it's been a while. It might have been 2010, and I didn't tell anybody I was taking it.
Yeah.
I was like on the line, because if I didn't
Right.
pass, I didn't want the rest of the week people saying like, "Oh, did you pass? Did you pass? Did you pass?" And then I'm like, "Oh, I gotta rip off that Band-Aid for the rest of the week."
I know.
But
I've put it out there to everyone. So we're
yeah, no, but you're
better
gonna
pass.
pass. You're gonna pass. But it is. I hope they do tell you, because you are kind of wondering the rest of the week how
I
you did.
know. It would be a good thing to. It'd be a
Yeah,
good thing hey, I'm certified now, and here I'm at your conference.
yeah,
Don't make me
yeah,
think about it the whole week.
yeah. And as I mentioned in your intro, you are already certified with Florida FDLE and also California, and that was part of the Alpha group, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I guess, why are you going for this third certification?
I love learning, and I love getting as much as I can out of things. And I love this career. So I want to just keep moving forward and keep learning, because there's just so
Mhm,
much to it.
mhm.
So I want to get all of them. I maybe I'm a glutton for punishment. I don't know. I can't sit still with just being content with where I'm at. I like to continuously be getting things and moving forward. So
Mm,
that was probably one of the biggest motivating factors for me, was
yeah.
just hey, let's get me some more stuff. And I really don't want to go back and get my doctorate. That doesn't sound fun. I have 2 little kids, so I'm just gonna keep going with the certifications and
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. Doctorate does not sound
yeah,
fun to me either. So,
no.
well, what about the two certifications that you do have? How are are they mostly the same, or how would you describe them, both of them, since you've gone completely through both processes?
So when we did FDLE, it felt like a small master's program, honestly. It
Mm-hmm.
was pretty intense. I mean, it's a great certification to get. I got lucky because mine was in Tallahassee, so I got to go up there for a whole week at a time
Mm-hmm.
and just strictly focus on doing the projects and taking the tests. And but it was definitely, they don't make it easy on you, which is great. And it was
Mm-hmm.
a lot of learning. You have to do presenting. I hate talking in public. I don't mind talking to you, but public speaking is just genuinely, oh my gosh, it's so frightening to me.
Uh-huh.
But you're kind of forced to do it, which is really good because in life you're forced to do it, especially in this career.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it was hard. It was definitely
Yeah.
hard. We had a project, a big project that you worked on the entire time. So it was basically your thesis and you had to present it at the end. So, but it was very well done. I know they've definitely changed. They've changed it now because I think the
Mm.
end is now a paper instead of a project. And I know
Oh,
there's
really?
been, yeah, it's not the group project thing. Now it's a paper and they have a new, somebody new's running it now. There
Mm.
was somebody after Alex and then now there's another new person.
Oh, all right.
So
Hmm.
yeah, there's been some changes to it. But when I went, it was intense.
Yeah, no, it is a really good program because you get your cohort and you from most people around Florida there, and then you're establishing your network, and then you have people that were in your cohort that you can contact at any point for the
Oh
rest of your
yeah.
career.
I have a huge contact list from that. Hey, we were in the
Hmm.
academy together. Can you help me out with it?
Yeah,
Very helpful.
yeah,
Yes.
no, it is a really good program. All right, let's move on to an advice section for our listeners. What advice do you have, whether it's for a new analyst, an experienced analyst, maybe forecasting what's going to be important 5 years down the road type of thing? What do you got?
A couple pieces. My first one is you've got to keep up with technology. You've got to keep up with apps and social media and all that if you're going to be an analyst because oh man, has it come into everything that we do? Just following people, trying to find people, trying to figure out what's going on. I've had to learn. So I'm 41. I'm Facebook and Instagram, and I'm having to learn all about Snapchat and whatever else that's out
Yeah.
there. So, I mean, staying up to date with all of the social media is going to be very important for the future for sure. AI,
Yeah.
ChatGPT, all of that. And then the other one's really simple is kind of just make connections. That I have found so much success because I've known who to call and ask to help me.
Hmm.
Or I've made a connection. I went to a training and I met somebody from Tennessee and we something happened and we needed a contact up there and I'm like, hold on, I'll ask them what they. So I contacts are some of the most important things because it's information sharing, you know.
Hmm.
We can't
Yeah.
operate in a silo as analysts. It doesn't work that way. So
Yeah. No, it's just a lot, right? It's a lot to
yeah.
keep up with. And just you
Yeah.
talked about all the different technologies, and we talked about the tasks that you are responsible for now. I mean, it's a lot to
Mhm.
juggle.
Yeah, it is.
It's like if
Yeah.
I mean, social media analysis could be a full-time job,
Oh my
right?
gosh. I mean, yeah. And then
Right?
we have that on top of the cell phone analysis, and you're
Yeah.
having to keep up with everything that's happening in cell phones. And oh, yeah, you have to just kind of stay up to date with everything, know what's going on,
Yeah.
even current events. You
Yeah.
need to know
Just
what's going on.
just know all people and all technology. Go.
Yeah, know everything. Just, you got this.
All right.
I don't think it hurts to find a like a passion project or find something that
Yeah.
you're very interested in. Then it
Mhm.
is good to have, something that you're really good at. I happen to be the one at work that's the social media queen. Like
Mm.
everybody's like, what's this mean or what's so, but we've got somebody that's good with spreadsheets and numbers and stats and somebody that loves it just doesn't matter what you love. If you have that, then that's also a good thing to kind of keep you grounded so you're not all over the place.
Yeah. It is. It takes some diversity to make sure you can fill in as many gaps as you can for a unit.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're very lucky. We have a really awesome, diverse unit here. I will say that, and we have a lot of freedom to do projects and pick things, and so we're pretty lucky.
All right. Well, let's move into the call-in segment. Favorite first jobs. I gotta take a.
My One of my first jobs was in a gift shop, and we had a huge fudge counter and wrapped presents and stuff, and I would just kind of sit there and pick at the fudge all day, and I got to play with all the new products we had, and it was a fun job. I got to meet a lot of people in the community. I liked that.
Yeah, no, it's funny that you mentioned that because my son is 15 going on 16 and he's looking for his first job. And I was passing Crumble Cookie on
Mm.
the other day and saw that they had a hiring sign in the window and he looked it up. He's like, "Oh, you get free cookies all day." I was like,
Oh man, he's perfect for that age. I didn't gain a pound
yeah.
when I ate the fudge all day. I don't
Oh,
know
well,
if I could
yeah.
do that
Well,
now, but
yeah. Well, he's super skinny, so he could use the caloric intake. So
great first job.
yeah. So he's going to apply. We'll see what happens. So this is favorite first jobs. I always credit Steve Gottlieb, speaking of Alpha Group, for this segment because when he was, I think, 16 or 17 years old, got a job at a local radio station and he hosted the Sunday morning program.
Oh, that's cool.
So how cool of a first job is
Yeah,
that? So leave
that's
it
a
to
really
Steve.
cool first job. Yeah.
Yeah, so I've always been fascinated with people's first jobs and what they do and what they get into. So like yours with the fudge and basically
Yeah.
consuming 3 quarts of sugar in a week, right?
When you're
So,
16, who cares?
yeah. All right, so first on the line is Nicole. Nicole, what's one of your favorite first jobs?
My favorite first job was concession stands at a softball field.
Right? What's a good memory from there?
All the food you could possibly have at your fingertips and quote unquote free.
She must have heard us talking right there. So yeah, quote unquote free.
Listen, if there's food around you, I'm in. I
Yeah,
like it.
yeah. Well, quote unquote free. I don't know. I don't know what the polygraph guy would do with that one. Quote
Yeah, I know.
unquote free. But yeah, so we talk every once in a while because there's a lot of analysts who have kids and they're in some kind of sport and they're spending all day Saturday at the ball field or the park or the court or whatever it is. And so yeah, that food concession stands at these places is a very integral part of the whole environment.
Oh yeah, I have my first concession stand coming up in about 2 weeks. I'm a new T-ball mom, so
Oh,
I'll be starting that here soon.
let's go on to the next caller. Next caller is Josh. Josh, what's one of your favorite first jobs?
I started out at McDonald's and I was given free mac sauce to take home. And I learned that I did not want to work in food service.
Oh, Mac sauce, like the Big Mac sauce?
Yes.
Oh man. So yeah, what's the wildest story you remember from McDonald's?
Not wild, just I knew I didn't want to do that.
Oh, all right. That's funny. Isn't Big Mac sauce just Thousand Island sauce, or is it not? Is it
Yeah,
something
we got
different?
pickles and onions in there and some mustard. Oh, it's good.
Yeah. Do you actually make it yourself, or is it just come in a package?
Well, the Thousand Islands dressing comes from the region we're up here working in.
Oh, okay.
Hmm.
And then do you mix it with something else, or is it just Thousand Island dressing?
No, that's where we put chopped up pickles and onions in there. And oh, it's good.
Yeah. See, you learned something here. I did not know that Big Mac sauce was an actual sauce. I just thought it was Thousand Island dressing.
Yeah, I did too. Never been a fan of it though, so I don't know.
Yeah. Speaking of being young and eating a lot of food, my stepbrothers, they're twins. When they were in college, this is in the 90s, McDonald's was running a special on Big Macs. I want to say it was like, this is the 90s. So it was like 2 for $3 or something like that.
Oh, that's a
And
bargain.
yeah, it was super bargain. And those two between them, I should text them and ask them how many they did because they know exactly. I want to say they both ate 20 Big Macs in that month of January.
Oh my,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
ugh. But I guess,
So
yeah, when you're young, McDonald's is everything.
yeah, and you need lunch, you need to eat. And it's
Yeah,
like, hey, well, let's see, after a couple of times, like, hey, let's see how many we can eat this month.
yeah, why not? Oh,
But yeah,
man.
yeah, and well, speaking of my son too, my son and we do food challenges every once in a while, and he challenged me to a Big Mac eating contest, and he got like 1.5 in, and I got 5 in,
Dang.
and
You
I
could enter
did,
the hot dog one.
and I did not, I my digestion was not the same for like 2 or 3 weeks.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I used to be able to eat anything. Now I'm eating Tums after I eat anything
Mm,
like that.
yeah, like Joey Chestnut,
Mm.
like drinking the Pepto, right?
Yes, exactly.
Oh man. All right. Next on the line is Akiko. Akiko, which one of your favorite first jobs?
One of my favorite first jobs was working at a Starbucks in high school, just because I had that secret knowledge that no one else did about what goes in the drinks and what crazy things you can combine and what's on the secret menu. So I was fancy back then.
That's interesting. So it sounds like as a customer, she memorized the menu and knew some of the tips and tricks and whatnot, and used that to her advantage when she went for an interview.
That's a dangerous first job. I would be bouncing off the walls.
Oh yeah.
Just trying all the delicious coffees and all the, oh my goodness.
Well, I think it's dangerous because if you're not paying attention, if you're just rattling off stuff off the menu that you think sound good, before you know it, you have like a 1,600 calorie drink.
Right. Oh, yeah. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. I remember when I was younger getting all those mochachinos and
Hmm.
whatever, and that's like your calorie count for the next 2 days.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
4
didn't
days.
know. I was like, I just got a coffee.
Yeah. 4 days worth of caffeine and sugar. What could go wrong?
That's fine. Now I need all the Starbucks.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's funny. Well, you're getting old there, right? I have a cutoff of like 3 p.m. I'm like, hey, I can't have coffee after 3 p.m. or I'll not go to sleep that night, type of thing. So you get this window of opportunity for coffee now.
Me too. Yeah, I was like, man, I'm a grandma already. But I do drink my fair share in the morning, especially with 2 kids crawling in your bed in the middle of the night.
Yeah, that's funny. I didn't start drinking coffee until I had kids and the kids were young. So.
Oh, yeah, then you need it.
Yep. All right. Next on the line is Steve. Steve, what's one of your favorite first jobs?
Hey, Jason, I got a crazy first job. I was a wilderness survival instructor. At the age of 15, I was working at a Boy Scout camp, and I taught a class of wilderness survival students every week for 8 weeks in one summer. And that's where I got my first taste of training. I ate a snake, I ate a grasshopper, I ate leaves, and I loved every minute of it.
Oh, he wins.
Nice. We have a nice food theme, although his is by far the worst so far.
Oh no, nothing about that. Nope.
Oh man, I don't know.
I mean,
He
what
must
a
be.
cool first job.
Yeah. My son's in Boy Scouts too, but I don't think I have not seen where we're eating snakes and frogs and leaves yet,
I'm out on
unless
that.
that's coming out.
I'll do that for fun, do the survivalist things for fun.
Yeah.
My coworker's husband and a couple of his friends went out to the middle of the woods out here in Florida for 3 days, and it was, you had to eat everything off the land. You couldn't use any technology. And that doesn't sound fun. I was like, you're paying money to do this?
Yeah. I know.
But
With
people
Boy
love it.
Scouts, they have a Ziploc bag camp out where you get a gallon Ziploc bag, and whatever you put into it, that's your food for the weekend.
Oh man.
Right. And which sounds really hard, if not impossible, but then they allow the boys to coordinate. So not somebody can just bring the rice, and somebody else can bring in canned stuff, and they can do the teamwork approach.
Yeah, and they really appreciate it when you're sitting at home eating pizza, right?
Well, yeah, but it doesn't work very well when the dads are having like second and third dinner steaks and late at night.
They're eating pinto beans.
Yeah. It's kind of a hard one to implement. So. All right, last caller is Neil. Neil, what's one of your favorite first jobs?
Hey, Jason. My favorite job that I've ever had was probably big responsibilities here. I was tasked with weed whacking for 8 hours a day, every day, for around 14 weeks of summer for 5 years.
Oh,
that sounds awful.
Depends on where the summer was.
I think it built a lot of character.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, it definitely builds a lot of character. Like that, man, that is a lot. See, I'm not, me and the son don't get along all that well. In Florida, could you imagine doing that 8 hours a day, all 14 weeks? I mean,
Oh no,
that would be awful
that's
for me.
miserable.
Yeah, I don't know. And so, but you're young, just like you can eat a
Yeah,
bunch of stuff, you can
yeah.
put your body through a bunch of
I
like
mean,
mundane activities.
hopefully it was somewhere without the Florida humidity.
Oh yeah. Wow. I mean, wherever you go though in the country,
Yeah.
you're gonna have the heat and the bugs and everything else.
Uh,
So
uh,
as it does, it builds character, right? It's
yeah, yeah.
and
Build,
but some of those mundane jobs, you can kind of turn your brain off a little bit and just daydream and or plan and think. So I guess there is a little bit of an upside to having tasks with mundane activities is that you can shut your brain off.
yeah, yeah. And it can make you appreciate when you get something where you're not having to do heavy lifting in the middle of summer and you're in air conditioning and where you
Yeah.
really appreciate it more than maybe somebody else would.
And he didn't get the memo, Neil. They didn't talk about food, so I don't
No
know.
way. He's too busy.
All right, so that's favorite first jobs. If you have a favorite first job that you want to share with the show, email us at leapodcasts@gmail.com. All right, Ashley, our last segment to the show is Words to the World. This is where you can promote any idea that you wish. What are your words to the world?
They're pretty short and sweet, but they're directed. It can be to the world and also to an analyst, but stay curious, question assumptions from people, and never stop searching for a story inside your information. I always find that there's never coincidences, and always trust your gut. It's usually right.
Very good. Well, I leave every guest with you giving me just enough to talk bad about you later. But I do appreciate you being on the show, Ashley. Thank you so much, and you be safe.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for making it to the end of another episode of Analyst Talk with Jason Elder. You can show your support by sharing this and other episodes found on our website at www.leapodcasts.com. If you have a topic you would like us to cover or have a suggestion for our next guest, please send us an email at leapodcasts@gmail.com. Till next time, analysts, keep talking.